What's up, everybody? Oh, I forgot to label your name, Ian. But people like everybody here knows who this guy is, right? We've got Ian Martyn in the house. How you doing, Ian?
Pretty good. How are you, Josh? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, total pleasure. I'm really happy to have you on here. I realized that this is actually the first time that we've had you on Let's Listen, just like solo. We were talking earlier backstage how you're just like you're omnipresent in the VGM scene. And so yeah, it was kind of surprising for me to realize, oh crap, this is the first time that we're actually having you on for your own listening party. And not only are you here just by yourself under your own name, Ian Martyn, but you actually did everything on this album completely by yourself. Isn't that right?
Yeah. So this is the one thing that I didn't do was arrange the cover art.
Okay. Oh,
So
well, okay. Everything musically. I'm sorry.
everything
I didn't
musically.
specify. Yeah, no.
Yeah. No. But that was honestly I thought that was part of the challenge at first, like that we were just supposed to do everything like the arranging, the recording, mixing and mastering. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
hopefully
well,
I didn't like misinterpret that or something, but whatever.
all right. Well, before we get a little ahead of ourselves, just for the sake of the show, folks, if you aren't initiated, we have Ian Martyn here. He is a multi-instrumentalist as well as an incredible vocalist. He's been a part of several projects, and as I said, is omnipresent in the VGM scene. He's partaken in a lot of collaborative albums, does a lot of collaboration with tons of other people in the scene. Actually, speaking of things that you didn't do for this album, maybe later on we can get on to people that you haven't collaborated with in the VGM scene before. But yeah, as you were saying, this album that you've put together is part of a challenge. And do you want to tell us a little bit more about that challenge and specifically how this album came to be?
Sure. So the challenge was basically that Alan proposed at the beginning of 2020 was that you had a year to do an entire album, and by album he defined that as like 5 tracks, right? And he would take care of the streaming licensing and that kind of stuff, and then you just kind of worry about everything else, so the music and the yeah, basically mostly the music, right? But
Not the album art. Somebody else does that.
no, well, yeah. I mean, he did mention the album art. He did mention the album art, so there was that. But there was kind of like this loose schedule that we were supposed to follow, and whether you followed it or not, who knows, right? But there were kind of loose guidelines, right? And then I believe the tracks were due like one of the last days of December. So like the 31st or the 30th or something like that. I don't quite remember off the top of my head, but it was at the end of December. So you had like the entire year.
Yeah.
I don't remember how many people signed up, but I think, and I don't know if Alan's here, but quote me if I'm wrong, but it's like maybe 7 or 8 people finished.
Mm.
Finished it. I think this is the first or the second one that's coming out, though. I think a lot of people are waiting to release theirs a little later in the year.
Right. So you had like either 365 or 364 days to finish an entire album, but definitely not 369.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Definitely.
nice.
No, not nice
No,
at all.
not nice. Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, the title of your album is Beyond the Wind. Ian, what is Beyond the Wind? I mean,
Um,
like theoretically, if we could get past all of the wind that there is, what would be out there?
So I have no idea. That was so so I was trying to theme the album around something, right?
Right.
And anything at all, right? And all of the ideas that I kind of started out with, I eventually discarded and just went with things I like or things that mean something to me, right? Or that have been with me for a while now. And so Beyond the Wind was my sort of attempt at, I guess, grasping at straws for some sort of anything that links these things together. And that kind of came out of two of the tracks that I kind of arranged close to the end of the things, which are the second and third tracks, right? The Chrono Trigger one and the Final Fantasy 3 one.
Mhm.
And both of those have wind in the title. Xenogears, of course, also has to do with the wind somehow, maybe.
There's probably wind
There's
somewhere in that
there's
universe.
wind
Yeah.
somewhere, right? And so I actually started. There are a couple of there's this is kind of a really obscure thing, but I'm into this Japanese band called Malice Misere that was really big in the 90s, and a few of their song titles have the uh you know, kanata, or like something no kanata e, or like beyond the something. And so that was sort of me riffing off of that. And then I just translated it I picked kaze, like the wind, and then I just translated it into English to get beyond the wind. And that's why there's the English and Japanese titles.
Mhm.
Really, really pretty obscure, right? But
Yeah, no,
whatever.
no, I love it, and actually that kind of leads into another thing that I find very fascinating about this release is, like you said, you have both English and Japanese titles. You also have are they original lyrics that you've created in both Japanese and in English for these songs as well?
So none of the lyrics are original, and actually, there's a podcast I just recorded with Ro Panaganti that explains all of that. Basically, the whole thing with licensing and original lyrics and derivative works. Right? If you write your own lyrics to a track, you create a derivative work, and you can't do that without the composer, the publisher's explicit permission. So
Mhm.
that kind of is out. So these are all um, everything with lyrics. Either they originally had it or somebody else went to the trouble of getting that permission from the composer, right?
Hmm.
And writing lyrics to it, publishing it officially, and then I can use that to obtain the license. So, for example, the second track, that's what happened,
Mhm.
with wind scene or yearnings of the wind, whatever you want to call that, right?
Mhm.
So that's sort of the workaround, right? But other than that, if you want to release licensed video game music, that's the original lyrics thing is kind of
Wow.
off the table.
All right. Good to
Now there,
know.
yeah, there is the thing of like, yeah, you can release it and you might not get caught, um, and that's fine. Like, obviously, I'm not turning anyone in who does that, right? As someone who loves to do that, right? I'm
I
not
mean,
gonna.
you would be in a perfect position to do that because you know everybody and you're just like eyes on what they're doing.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I'm not doing that,
all right.
right? But I'm also not going to intentionally put myself in the position of like some sort of legal gray area where if like Nobuo Uematsu just suddenly gets really right, like into going after people,
Hmm.
you
Oh, well,
know,
you would be the first to fall. You love your Nobu Uematsu
I do.
covers. I
Yeah,
think we've got 3 on this album alone. Isn't that right?
I,
Unless
yeah,
X2.
two.
Okay, because you got Final
Yeah,
Fantasy 3 and X, but X2, that's not Nobu, is it?
that's not. Yeah,
No.
that's kind of the odd one out on this album, just kind of in general. But
Oh man.
yeah,
Oh, wow. All right. Yes, all the things in chat. Nobu Uematsu, everyone is of course
Mm.
referencing the jokes we have over there on There Is No Easy Mode. Yeah, well, I mean, speaking of Nobu Uematsu, do you want to listen to the first track that we have here on the album?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, the
No, I'm
show's over, folks.
kidding.
Everybody go
Bye.
home. All right, you're already home, so yeah.
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we do want we're gonna
No,
listen
we
to the
do
song.
want. Yeah, we
Okay.
do actually
This
want.
is
Yeah, like
this is happening, folks. You are here, and we are going to make this a huge party listening to this dope track that Ian Martyn just dropped. Yo, it's called Hymn of the Faith. Um, oh man, is there anything you want to tell us before we dive in here?
no, well, yeah, okay. So this was the first this was the first piece of vocal video game music that like vocally appeared in a game that really struck me as a choral piece. I know One Winged Angel came before this in FF7. I heard it. I beat FF7. I know it's there. But for me, this was the like choral piece of music in a video game that like hit me when I
Mm,
played it. So
all right. Well,
that's yeah.
this means a lot to Ian's faith. All right. It's a hymn of the faith. So without any further ado, let's listen. Oh man, that is just serene. Coming out strong with that first track on the album. Ian Martyn's gonna shock you. Here we go. No, no, honestly. Oh, low D. Yeah, is that a low D there, Ian?
It is a very pitch corrected low D. I cannot
Nice.
hit that. I can't hit that note. That's your job, Josh.
Oh well, I mean,
As per our conversation like two 2 days ago, right?
yeah, well, I mean, if you can ever like put out an album and you're just like, oh, I just need somebody for that D, you know. I got your D's covered, man. What can I say? Oh
Thanks.
yeah, no problem. I can just like not sing the rest of the part. It's just like at the end, you just like, oh, it sounds like Ian up until the very end. No, but D's covered. Okay, chat's getting a little unhinged. I love it already. No, but that was really beautiful, and I was asking you while we were listening to that about that a little more because I actually spent a good period of my life where I listened to and like pseudo studied Gregorian chant. Is that a like a field of music that you're familiar with at all?
You know, a little bit. I've done more listening than actually like singing of it, but I love the style. You know, I love to hear it. I'm
Mhm.
actually curious, like what like. You said you'd performed a bit of it too, as well as listened.
No, no, I don't think I've ever performed. I mean, like I've been in choirs, but I like you know when
Yeah.
I think of like music, I think of like Palestrina, Palestrina, and I did also study like a little bit of counterpoint and stuff like that,
Oh,
and you
cool.
know how
Yeah.
like a lot of pre-classical music actually explores, um, you know, lines that overlap but don't necessarily like harmonize or like you've just got like a lot of things going on at once. But then, of course, there's also a very a very strict, more like a Gregorian chant where it's a bunch of singers in unison. Everybody's just like in a chamber, so you get the glorious acoustics and stuff like that. And that is more akin to what you've arranged there. But you were also telling me that the latter half of that was more an original arrangement.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, cuz I didn't just want to perform it verbatim, right? But I wanted to present it in its original form, and then do something different with it, because in the game you go through all of these different areas. You pick up all of these aeons. Each of the aeons sings it to you in a different register and key. You've got groups of people singing it. Sometimes they're in unison, like the Ronso, or sometimes I think it's like eight voices, maybe, when you get all of Spira doing it. But you have all of these different arrangements of the Hymn of the Faith. So I wanted to do something a little different. I love suspensions.
Hmm.
So I threw that in there, and I love Picardy thirds. And I'd never heard that being applied before to the Hymn of the Faith, so I decided to throw that in there as well. So I know it's not like, um, I guess, based on the musical era in which the Hymn of the Faith theoretically resides, right? If it were to exist in like our world, right, that wouldn't apply to it. But I don't care. This is
Yeah.
this is my album. I'm gonna arrange it how I want, right?
Yeah, I mean, if that
So
song can live next, like if that song can be alive in a world where people are playing blitzball, then anything is possible.
sure, yeah.
Oh man, did you did you play through Final Fantasy X yourself? Have you beaten that game?
Yeah, this is like kind of a, I mean, I don't know if it's a controversial take, but I would put it up there like with my favorite Final Fantasies. So like, I always say, when people ask like, "What's your favorite Final Fantasy?" I'm like, my stock answer is six. Um, but really, it might be 10 as well in a weird way for different reasons, right? But
Yep.
I absolutely love 10. I love the story. I know I'm gonna like laugh all you want. I actually love the voice acting, right? Um, yeah, I see Ranja dropping some
Oh god,
Titus laughs in the
those
chat, but
cringe emotes. Oh god.
yeah, yeah, we all love you, Ranja, for that. But no, but I mean, I loved how immersive it was. The story, the soundtrack is one of my favorites. To Xanarkin might be my favorite piece of VGM ever in any game.
Wow.
So,
Is that your first time admitting that?
no, no, no,
Okay,
no. I
good.
mean, I'll tell if people are like, oh yeah, like what's your favorite like VG? I'm just gonna to Xanarkin. It's a great melody, and I think it's like really representative of Uematsu's like final contribution to the Final Fantasy series, right? He doesn't go out with, he doesn't just kind of fizzle out, right? He goes out with a bang.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. And I see you, Moo Man, and like Dancing Mad is my other favorite. So, but yeah, Dancing Mad can be offended. I don't care, but I love Dancing Mad too. That's my other Uematsu like pick,
Uh,
right?
oh man, yeah. No,
Yeah,
dancing mad. I mean, it can be upset if it wants. It can dance as mad as it wants.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, everything here is from an RPG, and I mean the
Yeah.
next track on this album is, I think, kind of unanimously one of the best. Yeah, this is a track from Chrono Trigger, and yeah, the inspiration for the album title is partially in this title of the song. It's "Yearnings of the Wind," and that is, of course, a cover of the Wind scene from 600 AD. What can you tell us about this before we listen to it?
So this is actually this is kind of one of those like kind of roundabout covers, right? So I grew up in Los Angeles, near this neighborhood Sawtell, which is traditionally a Japanese American neighborhood. And there are still a lot of Japanese shops and markets and restaurants there today. And there is I actually went to Japanese school in that neighborhood, and we'd walk over and shop and do karaoke and stuff. But there was this Japanese bookstore there that I would go to called Asahiya. And it's actually a small. They had like 3 or 4 stores maybe scattered around LA. And I was in there one day, and Yearnings of the Wind or Wind Scene, whatever, started playing. I'm like, oh, that's cool. They're playing video game music, but it was totally different. And this like boyish pop star voice starts singing it. And I was just completely blown away. And I went up to the counter. I was like, what is this? And the guy was just like, oh, yeah, it's the new like Shota Shimizu single. And I'd heard that name because he's like at the time in like 2009, he was a pretty big pop star in Japan. But I didn't really listen to a lot of pop music. So I ended up buying that, obviously. But looking into it, he had actually taken the Yasunori Mitsuda piece, right, and then just kind of reworked it into this pop song, and because of that, and because it's on all of the streaming services today and available to Americans, you can cover it with its lyrics. So here we are, basically.
Oh man.
So that's
Yeah.
what I've done.
Oh man. Well, and you've also like lovingly put the lyrics together in the kanji and katakana and hiragana as well.
Yeah.
You're no stranger to Japanese. Yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about that as well?
Sure. So I am, I mean, you can't tell it by the name, but I am half Japanese. I'm a fourth generation, what you call in Japanese a yonsei, which means that my great grandparents came from Japan to the US, which happened about 110 to 120 years ago now.
Wow.
So we've been here for my family's been here for a while. But because of things that happened like during World War II, the culture has sort of fallen out with passing down like the Japanese language.
Mhm.
But because I don't know, because my parents cared and wanted to expose me to the language and culture, they would get me like tapes and videos and stuff in Japanese to so at least I could hear it, right? Like,
Mhm.
and I got into really into Godzilla, and so they would buy me like Godzilla kids books as a kid, and I couldn't really read them, but I could kind of make it out and like figure out how the characters related, especially like katakana and the different like kaiju names, right?
Mhm.
So like Gojira, Mosura, etc. And then at some point, I don't even know how or why, I just started going to Japanese school at like 9 or 10. There were a few Japanese schools in the area, but most of the kids were, they were like kids of Japanese immigrants or, Japanese business people who weren't even going to stay in the country that long. So a lot of them spoke Japanese at home.
Mm.
And I didn't. So I learned to read like better than I could speak. so so it's a lot easier for me to like listen to a song and throw together a lyric sheet and make it make sense than like it is for me to have like a really in-depth conversation with somebody. But I can go to Japan and like buy things and
Yeah.
do the fine stuff and like that kind of the basics, right? But I'm not going to have some like deep conversation about like music theory or
Or what's beyond the wind or
right,
anything
like
like
well, yeah,
that.
the philosophical implications of the wind, right? Like that's not happening. But yeah, no, I'm like super grateful to my parents for getting me those things. and you know,
Yeah.
and just supporting me in that way, like, you know, especially now, right? And who knew, right, that I'd be super into video games, and that, you know, it would be helpful to actually have all of this Japanese, you know, background and whatnot. So
Yeah,
it's really
definitely.
convenient now.
Well, and it's a beautiful story about, about restoring culture to your lineage and stuff like that too. Like that's really touching.
Yeah,
Oh man. Well, I think that we're about to be touched by these amazingly sung lyrics that we will not understand. But you can tell us what they mean perhaps afterwards. Yeah.
sure.
So this is a Chrono Trigger cover. This is Yearnings of the Wind as titled by Ian Martyn, and it's a cover of the wind scene from 600 AD. Let's listen.
風のように季節を越えて君を思い続けよう雨の中で君を呼んでいる僕は一人じゃない一人じゃない春が来ればまた君に会える気がしてる僕はそう信じている目を閉じた瞬間止まってた時間が動き出す君の笑顔変わらないね大丈夫ずっと一緒だよ何も心配ないよあの時の言葉は誰に当てたのかな平気だよ過去や未来気にしないで振り返れば遥か彼方風のように季節を越えて君を思い続けよう雨の中で君を呼んでいる僕は一人じゃない一人じゃない僕の空が真っ暗に変わる頃君の空には朝が来る手紙を書くよ届くかもわからないけれど少しは気休めになるもう一度もし会えたら二人でどこかへ行こうよ無邪気にはしゃぐ君が映ってる新しい門出を二人で祝おうよせめて君が君じゃなかったら風のように季節を越えて君を思い続けよう雨 い続けよう雨の中で君を呼んでいる僕は一人じゃない一人じゃない風のように季節を越えて君を思い続けよう雨の中で君を呼んでいる僕は一人じゃない一人じゃない Oh, yeah. Oh.
Oh, well, that was gorgeous. Yeah, you're getting lots of love in chat there for sure. The lighters are out, the hearts are up. Yeah, okay. Well, now that we've heard it, can you tell us a little bit about what those words even mean?
Sure. Yeah, so it's just kind of I mean it's a love song, right? So it's kind of about like lovers separated. And so he's like comparing his lover to the wind. You know, and we've got, you know, the typical so many you know pop songs in Japan have this sort of imagery about the wind and the sky and the rain. So we get some of the rain in here, you know, and the sky, of course. So like we've got this line. Let's see. God, make a total fool of myself, you know. But it's like you know the you know I kind of search or try to grasp you in the rain or like call for you in the rain,
Mhm.
right? Um and you know if we're able to meet again, let's the two of us go somewhere together, right?
Nice.
So it's like you know it's a love song but they're apart, and but you know the singer will always be by the lover's side, so
And the
it,
elements are involved. There's wind and rain.
yeah,
Things are wet and gusty.
yeah, and it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with Chrono Trigger, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, has absolutely nothing. I mean, actually, I lied. If you've played Chrono Cross, there's some meaning here. I don't know if this singer who wrote the lyrics, that Shota Shimizu, right? I don't know if he has played Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross or any of that, but it does have this sort of kind of vague Chrono Crossy feeling to me.
I mean,
So
if
I
he
don't know.
didn't play those games, then he's just like a fake gamer guy, right?
Yeah, well, then I'm a, you know, you know, I'm about
You're-
to don't listen to the album that's coming out tomorrow, right? The Gang Grooves cop, because then I'm a fake, you know, I'm a total fake Sonic fan, right? But
Oh man,
yeah,
I don't know. I think we're all fake Sonic fans. The only real Sonic fans live on DeviantArt. Um,
yeah, in like 1998, yeah, sure.
oh my god. Speaking of
Yeah.
art, why don't we take a little break and talk about this wonderful cover art that you have for this album, because this is something you said you did not do on your own, but it is really lovely. There's some incredible imagery here. Tell us a little bit about this.
Sure. So I actually took a photography class last year, just because I was curious. My partner has like a DSLR, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like take a photography class, learn how to do that." So I actually work at the city college in town. We can take some classes as part of that. So I took this photography class, and that's totally online. And I just went out into the garden. I love taking photos of flowers, and we've got some great ones out here. We love growing plants and stuff. So I took a picture of this lavender that we've been growing, and and I kind of, I think the assignment was like play around with the color balance and play around with like the color levels and whatever. So I did that. And I was like, oh, you can like see the spider webs and like all of this stuff. Anyway, um, my partner is actually kind of a, really, he likes to do graphic design, and like he actually does his own music under the name Sentinels of the Arctic. I have to, every time I think of that, I'm about to say Sentinels of the Multiverse. Not Sentinels of the Multiverse, Sentinels of the Arctic. And so he designs all of his own artwork that way. And so he did this for me, which I absolutely loved. So it's like the zoomed in photo, and then you've got the complete flower in sort of like the inset, and then the title and my name to the left of it. So yeah,
and the grain in the photo just like adds this wonderful texture that's kind of perfect for like, oh, here's the subject, up here is the small picture, and behind it is actually, it's still the same picture, but you've got such a incredible perspective on it. It just kind of really adds to the I don't like I could picture this being a vinyl cover, very easily. It's just kind of got that quality to it.
Yeah,
so when's your vinyl come out?
I wish. I was thinking of trying to do like a limited vinyl or tape run, but vinyl takes a lot of time. There's a lot of licensing that goes on because it is, video game music covers, so you have to do special licensing things. I actually had to go through a lot of special licensing things to release it on Bandcamp.
Right.
Because of that, through Easy Song licensing. And thankfully I had people like Ro Panaganti and Tara Catalo to help out with that, which is like, couldn't have done it without those two. But yeah, I mean, you do have to have all of these special considerations. So for each medium you pick to release it, you have to think about like, how are you going to handle that? So I think for me right now, I'll see what the demand is like. And if there is that demand, then I'll go ahead and do it. But if there isn't, I might pass on that by now. And also, I'm supposed to talk to Carrie about vinyl, and I will do that after the stream. Thanks, Carrie.
Nice. Absolutely. Well, yeah, and to press like a 5-song EP, like I imagine that's there are more efficient mediums that you could be printing your music on, but nevertheless, this album, you've released it on Bandcamp, as you said. It is also across all streaming platforms as of today.
Right, and that's through the streaming platforms is through Game Grooves Alliance, which is like the Game Grooves label, but releasing like these solo projects, or like that, they released the Limit Breakers, their recent Tekken 2 album came out through Game Grooves Alliance as well. If you haven't heard it, go check it out. I know I promised I wouldn't shout out too many people, but I'm doing it.
I'm counting what, like we're up to 5. You had like your partner,
like that.
You had Ro, you had Tara, you got Alan,
right.
You got
parents, right? Like,
oh man, and this is just
Carrie and
is just
Jisoo,
one speaking break. All right.
I'm about to shout out more people for track 3 too. I think we got Moo Man in there as well, and Ranja for the it just goes. It never ends.
Ian
never
just
ends.
like he sees somebody's name and he's like, I gotta credit that person. No, all right. Well, before we get too deep down the rabbit hole here, let's move on. Quite like the wind, quite like an eternal wind, a wind that doesn't stop. Because if you're going to get beyond the wind, you kind of have to ride it forever to find out what's at the end. And that's the title of this next song, Eternal Wind. And this is a track from Final Fantasy III. Okay, now I know you love your RPGs. Have you played like the entire Final Fantasy series? Are you familiar with this game?
So I've played, I thought you were going to ask if I had played 3, so I was nodding. So I've played every Final Fantasy released through 10-2, and
Okay.
then it ends.
Then it ends? Okay. Like
Well,
hard cut
yeah,
off?
well, hard cutoff. I mean, don't shoot me, right? I'm not into my action RPGs as much. I lots of love for Secret of Mana, but that's like about as action RPG-ish as I get. Secret of Mana, the first two Kingdom Hearts, right? I played all of those and I loved them, especially Secret of Mana. Fantastic game, but like, you know, is when they made that switch with 11, like to the MMO thing, and then with
Yep.
12 and
12 with the
13 to the,
gambits. Yeah.
yeah, and sort of like the action RPG stuff, I kind of, my interest level fell off
Mm.
with that. But I have played all of the ones from the original to 10-2, including 3.
So then Squaresoft just basically said, "Sorry, Ian. Here's Octopath Traveler."
Yeah, here's which I haven't played. I know I haven't played the original. I haven't played 2. Um, sorry.
That's all
I'll
right.
get to those. I'll get to those when I finish Chained Echoes. So
Oh my god.
yeah,
Awesome. All right. Well, let's circle back then
yeah,
and
yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
to the Final Fantasy that we all long for, which is Final Fantasy 3, not to be confused with Final Fantasy 6.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, this is Eternal Wind. Let's listen. Wow. So that is really what wind sounds like when it's eternal.
Yeah, when it's being eternally pumped through
An
a hunk
accordion.
of wood, right? Yeah, yeah. Across these, like, I think brass reeds, metal of, say they're metal of some sort. I don't know. Key would know. better than I would. So, let's
Oh,
ask him.
all right. Yeah, Key, we're gonna get you in chat here, and we're gonna make you a part of this listening party by telling us all about the anatomy of an accordion. Yeah. No, just drop it in chat, and we'll read it out later. Ian, yeah, I think I've played Final Fantasy 3. I remember playing through a lot of the earlier titles that we didn't get here in North America originally. I played through them on the Game Boy Advance ports
Oh,
that they
cool.
had.
Yeah. Hmm.
But I'm really racking my brain to remember kind of like the plot of this game, but also kind of want to like frame that as like a question to you specifically about this piece and this arrangement and kind of like what this song means in the context of that narrative.
Sure. So this is, it's like the overworld map theme. So when you're walking around, just kind of like the overworld between the towns or various locations, this is what plays then.
Wow, I pitched that
Um,
question like so eloquently, and you're just like, it's the overworld music.
no, I mean, it is the overworld music, but I mean, like in a way, I think in a way more than just the overworld music, it is sort of like the main theme of the game. I'm not gonna make this is not like a scientifically derived statement or anything. I have nothing to back this up.
No
But
one's in the lab with the test tube.
right, yeah, like
Fact-checking this for
measuring
you.
the milliseconds. Right, I believe this plays more than probably almost anything else in the game.
Okay, wow.
So it definitely is. Um, it's one of the I'd say it's one of the most memorable pieces in the game for sure. I don't know if somebody call Uematsu, and we'll wait for the answer. We'll be here
Yeah,
a long time.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's we're also waiting on the anatomy of the accordion as
Oh,
well.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're just waiting
Can't
on a
forget
lot of
that.
things now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess like coming back to maybe where I was trying to go with that question, just like in the context of the narrative, like what is this piece what is the overall journey? What is the overworld like mission in Final Fantasy 3? I'm really trying. I can't remember what the
So
major conflict was.
yeah. So basically, you're these like FF3 it's kind of the transition, right? So like FF1 was kind of, I'd say, like a very loose plot, right? There wasn't a lot of plot, mostly focused on like fighting and level building and sort of like quests that kind of end in this thing. 2, it's like more heavy plot, and then obviously from 4 on, it's just plot. But 3's sort of in the middle. I'd say it's sort of like between the 4 and on games and
Hmm.
1, right? So the plot kind of evolves, right? You've got these 4 characters who don't even have names. And keep in mind, this is I'm speaking from the perspective of the original game. I know they remade it for the DS. I haven't played the DS version, sorry, but I think they gave the story a little more meat in the DS re-release.
Okay.
But just originally, there's this thing about the crystals, and they're always the crystals, right? So
Those damn crystals won't save themselves.
yeah, and there's this guy Xande, right? And he's the bad guy, but then obviously, like, in like some of the Final Fantasy games, there's actually someone else pulling the strings behind the scene. So there's this cloud of darkness, who wants to kind of return the world to like a primal state of nothingness, something like that. It's a little obtuse. It's admittedly not the best Final Fantasy plot out there, in my opinion.
Okay.
But basically you end up defeating Xande just to find out he's a puppet of this other um this other thing, right? This
Yeah.
cloud of darkness, and then you defeat her, and everyone's happy. I think the four characters in the beginning are orphans. I don't know if that affects the plot at all.
Right. Because
But
this is the game with the onion kids, right?
yes, the
Right.
Onion
The
Knights.
onion.
Yeah. This is, I think, it's the first game with Onion Knights. But I mean, you do say that's something that comes up later in like later Final Fantasies. So,
Oh man, that's where it
but
all
yeah,
began. Oh man,
yeah,
riding on that eternal wind.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man. Well, Ian, our next track. Oh man, I'm gonna. I don't know. I hope you're not offended when I say this, but
No,
the title speaks very much about you because it's called 1,000 Words.
no,
Always say,
it's
hey,
so
if I
true.
talk too much.
No,
you
cut me off. Yeah, cut me off.
Oh,
But
man.
not before I shout out really quickly.
Okay.
Eternal Wind. I was really inspired by Key Otter and Rhubarb. I know they're in the chat. I saw them actually on your show, Bonus Stage Ultimate, which was super awesome. A whole weekend of incredible acts. But they played
Don't
a
shout me
version.
out on my own show, okay? Ian, just spare me that much, okay? But yes,
Fine.
no,
But yeah,
Key Otter and Rhubarb, absolutely.
yeah,
killed it.
no. Their set was incredible, and they played a violin and accordion duet of Eternal Wind, and I was really inspired. And it was great because I was looking for that fifth track, and I like couldn't find it, and there it was. So thank you for that.
Awesome. That is also the only track without any lyrics.
Yeah, that was I wanted to do the whole thing as a vocal thing, but then I thought it'd be good to give people a break from singing. So
Oh man. Oh well,
I
Ian,
don't
I
know.
hope you don't ever feel like you need to give people a break from your beautiful singing. Which we are getting into more. And in fact, these next two, well, the last two tracks on the album here are in English, so we will finally be able to understand what you're saying, and we won't have to ask you about it after we listen to it. But these lyrics, I guess, are these also sourced from somebody else's cover of it, or are the original lyrics for these tracks specifically?
Yeah, the last two are original from the tracks themselves in the game.
Beautiful.
So yeah.
Right on. Okay. Well, then why don't we? there aren't 1,000 words in this track, but it is
Thankfully,
called.
oh my God.
You don't really have to cram it in because what this song is for like just almost 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
So that would be like some Eminem stuff right there. Oh man. Speaking of hot drops, oh man, Ian Martyn coming in with those 1,000 words. Here we go. All right, that is how I'm going to intro this track. So let's listen.
I know that you're hiding things, using gentle words to shelter me. Your words were like a dream. My dreams could never fool me, not that easily. I acted so distant then, didn't say goodbye before you left. But I was listening. You'll fight your battles far from me, far too easily. Save your tears, 'cause I'll come back. I could hear that you whispered as you walked through that door. But still I swore to hide the pain when I turned back the pages. Shouting might have been the answer. What if I cried my eyes out and begged you not to depart? Now I'm not afraid to say what's in my heart. Though 1,000 words unspoken, they'll fly to you, crossing over the time and distance, holding you, suspended on silver wings. And 1,000 words, 1,000 confessions will cradle you, making all of the pain you feel seem far away. They'll hold you forever. The dream isn't over yet, though I often say I can't forget. I still relive that day. You've been there with me all the way. I still hear you say, wait for me, I'll write you letters. I could see how you stammered with your eyes to the floor, but still I swore to hide the doubt when I turned back the pages. Anger might have been the answer. What if I'd hung my head and said that I couldn't wait? But now I'm strong enough to know it's not too late. 'Cause 1,000 words cry out through the ages, they'll fly to you. Even though I can't see, I know they're reaching you, suspended on silver wings. On silver wings. 1,000 words, 1,000 embraces will cradle you, making all of your weary days seem far away. They'll hold you forever.
Wow, I didn't know that you collaborated with T-Pain on that one. That was amazing. No, we were joking backstage while listening to that song. And Ian, you were talking about your production of this track. And I don't want to steal any of your thunder on this. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you did here?
Sure. So I actually at first this was kind of a joke where I just, I was playing around with like, auto tune or like automatic pitch correction, right? And I just was like, I'm just going to turn it up all the way and see what happens. Just to get that effect, with 1,000 words, because it was so in the original game, right? In Final Fantasy X-2, it's like so poppy. And really that soundtrack is like it's like if pop and jazz had a child, right? It would be the FF10-2 soundtrack. So I just decided to like play with that. I ended up creating like, I chopped stuff up and created like these very exact melismas and everything and just pitch corrected all the way up. So yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it turned into a joke, or sorry, it was a joke, and it turned into something that you really liked.
yeah. I haven't really heard any sort of vocal production like this in like the VGM community before. I don't know if people are going to end up liking it or not liking it, because I feel like it is like one of those very polarizing effects. but it, to me at least, I like, I grew up in primarily in the I'm born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. And so I was a kid when Cher's Believe came out, right? But of course, I feel like that was the time that a lot of us heard that sort of production for the first time, right? And of course, it's Cher. So Cher doesn't need auto tune, like
No.
of all the people you're going to auto tune, right? But it's just it's an effect. And I'd grown up listening to a bunch of Wendy Carlos, who worked with Robert Moog on probably one of the first like commercially successful recordings of a vocoder, used in the Clockwork Orange soundtrack. She did the score for Clockwork Orange, which involved the fourth movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which is choral and it has that great baritone solo in the middle of it. But because it's Wendy Carlos, and with the Moog synthesizer, she used the vocoder to create these human voices. So I was already used to listening to that sort of robotic type of voice. And if you're not familiar with that soundtrack, or you're not familiar with Wendy Carlos, but you have heard like a lot of American pop or rock music, of course, like Styx's Mr. Roboto is another like very recognizable use of the vocoder, right? It's like 10 years after Wendy Carlos did it, but I'd say that's probably one of the most recognizable ones. So then when Cher's Believe came out, I just kind of really latched onto that as well. It was one of the first like CD albums that wasn't video game music that I bought I bought the single of it, with its like 8 remixes of that one song, right?
Oh,
So I
man.
could listen to it for an hour or like 70 minutes or whatever on a CD. But yeah, no, I mean it really had an effect on me.
Mhm.
And I did like it, but I never actually tried to recreate that myself. So
Oh, man.
here we are.
Here we
And
are.
we'll see what people have to say about it. The chat seems to love it, but the
Yeah.
chat also knows that I'm reading chat. So
Well, no, I think like, all right, I'm picturing like the late night commercial for that album that you got. Like, do you love Cher's Believe? Now enjoy this extra singles pack with 8 remixes. Oh my god,
yeah,
more Cher
yeah,
than you've ever shared with
yeah.
anybody.
Time
Yeah.
Life Productions, sign up today, right? No.
Oh man,
Oh,
but no,
that's funny.
I
Yeah.
do think, and like especially, I know you as somebody who does a lot of work acoustically, a lot of stuff like with your voice just naturally, and I think like this production kind of like highlights a little bit about like how to do a creative process and make it fun and make it successful and make it work, is like just kind of like trying something new, putting yourself a little bit outside your comfort zone, and just like, yeah, like maybe you did something as a joke and it turned out to be something that you liked, like especially in the terms of like auto tune and stuff, where like you said, it is an effect, and people can use it as an effect, and it's like, like, well, shoot, like how many effects do you put like on a guitar tone or something like that, like people have had
Yeah.
backlashes to, I don't know, all sorts of fads throughout the decades and stuff like that, and auto tune is no stranger to that controversy. But honestly, yeah,
Right.
like you're still performing. You're, and people know you can sing like Cher, right? You're just like Cher, and
No, I'm not
you
that
can
good.
sing, and people know it, and they know that you don't need the auto tune, but it's there as an effect, and you used it beautifully. I loved it.
Oh, well,
um
thank you.
yeah, let's dig into some of these lyrics actually a little bit, because we could
Okay.
hear and we could understand them, but where are they coming from?
I think this is really, man, and I mean, these are spoilers to a game that's like what, 19 years old at this point, but Yuna is spending the entirety of Final Fantasy X to, doing all of the things with Riku and Pain, and like with the new political landscape that's emerged, like after the defeat of Sin in Spira, right? But she's always missing Titus. Like Titus is the part of her life that's gone, um, and really who was tied to Sin in the first place, right? Not only through his father Jecht, but also through the dream Xanarkand, right, which goes away when the faith stopped dreaming, which it like links back to that first track, the Hymn of the Faith, right? But so this is just I think the words here are really about her like calling out to him. She knows he's out there. There's this chance that he's still out there, and she's hanging on to that chance. And not to totally spoil things, but depending on how you beat the game and how much of the game you do, you will get that answer. Right? Or rather, Yuna will get that answer. I think most people playing the game can see it coming, right, from the from the point when you start the game, right? It kind of makes it clear what's going to happen in the end. But I feel like Yuna gets that answer that she's been seeking. But this is really about that. It's Yuna trying to reach across time, right? In fact, I think there's a line about blah 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 blah,
crossing over the time and distance, holding you suspended on silver wings. Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, you say it better than I could, so there you go.
Oh well, if you ever want a William Shatner style spoken word cover of any of your covers,
I will.
I can do that, and I can provide the D.
Awesome, both of them.
Oh my god. Well, we are coming up to the last track on this 5-track album. Let's see. This one is called Small 2 of Pieces. Broken Shards from Xenogears. I love, and this is very true to what you've done with this album of just kind of like bringing English and Japanese together, and like the small 2 of pieces is such like this is translated from another language kind of thing. What is going on with this title?
I don't actually know. So the title is on the original soundtrack, written in English. This is the final track of the entire game. So this is kind of like after you've beaten it, this is the ending sequence, right? And this song plays over it. And actually, I mean, it's originally sung by an Irish singer in, these lyrics are in like, what I would call like a native English speaker wrote them, right? But the title is very kind of puzzling, and I've never really known or kind of understood how it got to be that way.
Wow. Okay. So no answer on that. Okay.
No answer. And it's the official Japanese is just the katakanaized version of that. So it's not, there's no even like, there aren't Japanese words that are paired to this title.
Wow. So, all right. Forever a mystery. We
forever a mystery. We will call up Yasunori Mitsuda, or maybe we have to call up Masato Kato because he wrote the lyrics and made the game. So he'd probably maybe even know better than Mitsuda, right? I don't know. But
oh my gosh. Well, we're going to know just how it sounds in a second here. Folks, thank you so much. This is Small 2 of Pieces from Xenogears. Let's listen.
Run through the cold of the night as passion burns in your heart. Ready to fight, a knife held close by your side. Like a proud wolf alone in the dark, with eyes that watch the world. my name like a shadow on the face of the moon. Broken mirror, a million shades of light. The old echo fades away, but just you and I can find the answer, and then we can run to the end of the world. We can run to the end of the world. Cold fire clenched to my heart in the blue of night. Torn by this pain, I paint your name inside. And the girl of the dawn with eyes of blue and angel wings. The songs of the season are her only crown. Broken mirror, a million shades of light. The old echo fades away, but just you and I can find the answer, and then we can run to the end of the world. We can run to the end of the world. We met in the mist of morning and parted deep in the night. Broken sword and shield and tears that never fall but run through the heart. Broken mirror, a million shades of light. The old echo fades away, but just you and I can find the answer, and then we can run to the end of the world. We can run to the end of the world. We can run to the end of the world.
Oh, gosh, that's lovely. What a way to end a 5-track EP. And like it's super gentle and sweet. Let's dig into some of these lyrics. You know, this is the call. This is what is beyond the wind. Is we can run to the end of the world. Right? That's what's beyond the
Yeah.
wind is the end of the world. I think
Yeah.
is what you're trying to tell us, Ian.
I think so. So Xenogears is another one of those. The thing I like about these last two tracks is that they're actually topical to the games that they're in, right? The lyrics, in a way that we can. I mean, the Hymn of the Faith is very topical to Final Fantasy X, but in a way we can't really understand. But these last two are very much about the games that they are part of. And I really like that, especially with Xenogears. Xenogears is one of those other games that kind of really touched me from a story perspective, like Final Fantasy X. Like I really connected with the story in that way,
Mhm.
and I think that that in that way I do feel connected to these words a little bit more than most songs. It's actually one of the only songs I can sing without looking at any lyrics. Like I usually, like when I'm performing, I mean, you know this because you've seen my setup, but usually on the other side of the camera are lyrics in like 24-point font bolded, so I can just like play off of them. The camera's right in front, so it doesn't really, hopefully doesn't look like I'm just reading off of a screen, right? But it's funny, I have no trouble memorizing musical passages or any of that stuff, but when it comes to words, it's just like, ugh.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But not these
Yeah.
ones. These ones
But
mean
not
something
these
to you.
ones. Yeah, not these ones. I mean, I listened to this song a lot. This is one of those soundtracks I got pretty much right when it came out. Like I had this before the game came out, really. As is the case with actually a lot of these kind of 90s, late 90s Squaresoft titles. I would just buy the soundtrack because I knew I liked the composer, and so I figured, I would like whatever soundtrack was coming out, and it was there and convenient, and thankfully my parents were willing to indulge me in that. So thanks again to them for always like indulging my weird, not weird, that's the wrong word, but my my music tastes, right? But yeah, no, I really like these. Like as you pointed out, We Can Run to the End of the World is really interesting in the context of the game, where everything you think is true is not necessarily true, and there's always like a bunch of hidden history that's been either hidden or erased. Right. So then finally we can run to the end of the world because we've sort of unearthed it all at this point. So we know what that end is, as opposed to before, where you can't really know the end without understanding the beginning. And if that's
Right.
hidden, then
Not like in
you know,
Final Fantasy X2, where apparently you know how it's going to end from the very
right,
start, and Yuna's just
right,
like, duh.
yeah. But I guess that's more like, right. We hope it's going to end in that way. As the player, I
Right.
hope it's going to end in the way that Yuna wants it to end.
But you totally
Um,
spoiled it earlier because you're like, yes, that's
right,
how it goes.
right, yeah.
Sorry, folks, we spoiled Final Fantasy
Yeah,
X2.
we've spoiled the 19-year-old, maybe even
No,
20 years old now.
that was
Final
the
Fantasy X too,
that was our hidden agenda
I
all
think.
along.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
god.
just spoiling these old games for you. I can't believe, like, I just played the remastered FF10 and 10-2 like maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, I can't believe these are like 20 some odd years old. It's terrifying. Like how much, because I remember it like it's yesterday,
Yeah,
like
it's imprinted on
I'm
your childhood mind, and just like, we're getting old,
totally.
Ian. We're all getting
I
old
know.
here.
Yeah, we're all of that sort of. I think a lot of people in chat
I was
are as
gonna
well.
say,
They're not
if there's
admitting to it,
anybody
but
here like under 25, like raise your hand because I will be
yeah.
impressed. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, that just speaks to how long like these albums or these video game musics can be loved for. Like there's just something that just carries forth. I'd say like the wind, like it's like the wind just keeps going, just
Yeah.
like our love of video game music. It's an eternal wind, and we could say 1,000 words about it. It's something that we yearn for, and we can sing some very faithful hymns about it. I don't know how to incorporate small two of pieces into anything that is eloquent, but
Right.
Oh man, but all that to
Oh
say,
man.
yeah, this has been a wonderful listening experience and talking experience. I mean, I've enjoyed listening to you talk, Ian, about this release, Beyond the Wind, folks. This is available now across all streaming platforms. It's available on Bandcamp. Of course, we do know that Bandcamp is one of the best ways to support artists with their releases. So definitely go and check out the song link. I believe that is still pinned in chat. If you don't have the link, I'll just make it fresh here, so
Yeah.
you guys all know where to go to support this wonderful release by Ian. And this was, of course, inspired by the Game Grooves album challenge of 2022. So yeah, thank you, Alan, for doing that wonderful
Yeah.
thing for the community here. Yeah, he's been a driving force for a lot of collaborations and stuff like that. But Ian, yeah, it was really nice to get you on here for your first actual solo VGM release on Let's Listen here. And well, let's take a minute and talk about, because you got a lot of stuff coming up, in
Yeah.
the very short period here.
Yeah. So I mean, I didn't plan this at all, but there's it's been teased online and it's coming out tomorrow. And all I'll say is that you should look at your streaming platforms. I think it's actually coming out on Bandcamp too. So if you don't follow Game Grooves, go ahead and follow them on whichever platform you like. Of course, as Josh was saying, Bandcamp is the best way to support it. Which, now that I mentioned that, I don't think the Bandcamp link is on the song whip. So yeah, but
Your Bandcamp is not on the
yeah, on the I don't
all
think
right,
yeah
on
yeah
your own song link here. Okay, so there it is in
well
chat.
yeah.
So yeah, so well, and it is a, oh no, sorry, I just copied the wrong one. All right,
No,
no,
it's
this
okay.
is your
Yeah,
Bandcamp. We've got but yes,
yeah
we're talking about
yeah.
the Game Grooves.
Oh, it's yeah.
It is actually like
Oh, it is. It's a pre-order.
it's a
Okay, yeah.
pre-order
So
for
yeah, I don't have to hide this anymore. So yes, it is. It is a real album. It is coming out tomorrow. It's Genty. I'm actually you probably wouldn't know it, but I'm a big fan of progressive metal like Periphery and The Contortionist and bands like that, Meshuggah and whatnot. So I have a track on here. It's Escape from the City, and it actually is I believe it's my partner's VGM debut. So he sings on it, and Darby Cupid, who's also been on Bonus Stage, is the other singer on there. So I kind of got those two together, not in the same room, but across time and space. And I really hope you enjoy it, because I had so much fun. I had so much fun making them. There are a lot of arrangements that I do, and they're fun, right? But at the end of the day, they're like serious stuff. I'm like trying to be serious, and it's like deep and meaningful and whatever. And this is it's not the opposite. It's not a joke, because it's not a joke. I mean, like, the album, it's April Fool's, haha, it's a joke. But it's like I totally did it as like a parody of Escape from the City.
it started as a joke and it became something that you liked. Wow.
I turned it into something that I liked, and here we are. So Escape from the City, and I really hope you enjoy it, because I had so much fun making it. And of course, like, Ro Panaganti, I should say, is a production genius, and just turned it, from me playing some notes on the guitar into something that sounds amazing, because that's what Ro does, right?
Yeah.
So there we go. So that's coming out. Something else is coming out. I probably can't talk about it in detail, but something else is coming out later in April. It's actually coming out on my birthday, on the 21st. So if you're in the know, you're in the know. And if not, be looking out on the 21st for something that is also a lot of fun, and that I had a great time with. There's so many things. Again, like, Alan just creates these opportunities for us, VGM arrangers and musicians to just kind of like let loose and explore, within the constraints of what's licensable, of course.
Of
but
course.
right,
Oh,
but that's the eternal, right? The eternal limiting factor here is just what's licensable. But like big, I know, shout outs. I'm shouting people out again. Big shout out to Alan for just everything he does for the VGM community and for us musicians like that. Just the opportunities are incredible. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, that's oh, and VGM Con.
and I was
VGM
gonna just say,
yeah.
VGM Con.
VGM Con, yeah, through the magic of you, Josh. I get to appear virtually at VGM Con this year. I'm doing a live show, I believe on Saturday, right?
Yes, we're planning
So
Saturday.
the 15th. So hopefully
Schedule
a little,
TBA.
yeah,
Yeah.
like a little, we'll see what time of the day it is, but yeah, so I'm very excited about that. And as everyone here probably already knows, I love VGM Con. I love what they do. I really feel like it's a community driven event, which is, I think, is like the best thing ever. And if you're not already in the know, and it's easier if you're not going to be there, like, do check out the VGM Con Discord server, which is linked from their site, because it'll give you information about the charity album jam, which is always a highlight of the year for me. And so I'm going to be arranging definitely one, maybe two tracks for that. We'll see what happens, but I'm definitely going to be contributing to that. So if you've wanted to play on a VGM album and want to contribute to something that's actually going to help a good cause, like, please come do those things, because there will be something for you to do, whether you arrange or you play, or you just want to contribute ideas or something.
Definitely.
Yeah, please.
And don't forget to shout yourself out, Ian, because you were nominated for your Corridors of Time track for the Game Music Remix Awards. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I am totally floored by that. It's such an honor to be recognized. And I listened to the other 4 tracks in this category, and I was like, I'm nominated in the hybrid category, which is kind of like I'm not really sure. But
that's their ambiguous category.
Tracks, yeah, some of my favorite people are nominated alongside me. It's just like, such an honor to appear on that list of tracks with these people. I'm like blown away, and
Absolutely.
just the like number of people who applied, over 400 people applied this year for those awards. So it just is like, I was thinking about this earlier. I'm like, that's like a lower percentage than getting into like top universities in this country. So
Wow.
so I'm like, it's and just, I mean, it just highlights too, like, how much good VGM there is out there. Like, there are so many, not only people who got nominated, but people who submitted and weren't nominated, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't mean that
400 submissions
this
year,
it
which is
and
nuts.
it doesn't it doesn't mean that the track is bad or anything. It's just the like level of what's going on is like, I mean, how do you even, so I'm just, to be included in that list, I was just like, wow, like blown away by that, and just, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say anymore.
I don't know. Well,
I don't know.
I know what to say in this situation.
Yeah.
If you want to support Ian rising to the top in his category, of course, we do encourage you to vote with your heart. But they've got some People's Choice award as well, Listener's Choice Award. So if you want to to give somebody the chance. I think they're giving out what, like a priority performance slot at VGM Con next year on the main stage. So yeah,
I
definitely
think
go
so.
use that form in chat there if you want to get ahead and place your bets, so to speak, place your votes. That
Place your
is,
bet. Right, yeah.
but yeah, definitely, like that's a
Yeah.
wonderful thing that they're
No.
doing. So
Yeah.
definitely, if you like Ian's track that much, vote for him. If you don't like it as much, vote for somebody else. It's your choice, but the opportunity
Yeah.
is there. So please take it and support all of these wonderful things that the
Yeah.
VGM community is doing. Ian, we're gonna wrap things up here. I'm very excited to see your set at VGM Con. Sad that you won't be there in person, but I'm actually going to be coming down to California in August, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we should be in LA, so that's kind of your hood, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm like LA adjacent.
Okay.
So we will
We'll
talk.
have to talk and meet up
We'll
and have like some Japanese food or something.
we'll figure something out.
We need somebody to show us around to the good spots. So if you
Well,
if you can't do
I'm
it in person,
always I am
we'll get
always down to
virtually.
make lists. Yeah, I will make tons of lists for you, and hopefully not just totally saturate your you have to go here and then you have to go here and now you're going here and
I'm expecting 1,000 words, Ian. Yeah.
Yeah, a thousand. We'll see if I can limit it to 1,000 words.
Oh my
right.
God.
That'll be the challenge.
Right on, man. All right. Well, that's your challenge for 2023. Yeah, but thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for asking about putting on this this listening party for us. It's been a wonderful time, and yeah, looking forward to seeing more from you, bud.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Josh. This is a lot of fun, and thank you to everyone who showed up. This is, I mean, the response here is incredible. So
Absolutely, lots of love for you, bud. Yeah, well, I'm going to put on a couple of tunes. Maybe we can
awesome.
select a raid target, and otherwise, we hope the rest of you enjoy your Friday evening. Take care, everyone.